All right, we're going to go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7 o'clock. Roll call. With Melissa. Here. Jill. Here. Lloyd.
Here.
Ben.
Here.
Wendy is filling in for Maggie. I don't remember.
Pat's meeting filling for Ann.
Okay. And then we got Justin and Sean down at the end. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do have one open forum. Thank you. That we will be adding in. It is about the sheriff's contract renewal and PSN charges. It's up in there. Right? Well, there's two different items, so we'll let her talk in between. Because the one, the PSN charges are out in the accounts payable, and the sheriff's contract is at the later. So how would we do that, Wendy? Because there's two items, but one is in accounts payable.
But it doesn't matter. It's not.
So we can just do it all at the end. Perfect. Thank you. And we're adding to the agenda, well, into the consent agenda, an accounts payable for barn removal of $4,496.74. Is there an approval then to the agenda?
Make a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll second. Melissa? Aye. Jill? Aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Consent agenda.
One thing I noticed on the minutes from the personnel meeting is
They're not in there?
I couldn't find it.
Oh, no, they're not listed in there.
They're under reports where they always are.
Oh, yeah, be on the back. Lloyd.
Under reports, under letter G, under reports.
Yeah, because Joe usually does an update on all that.
We used to notice.
The minutes are under G. Yeah, and that's when Jill will recap
Okay.
all that stuff, so.
I thought they were going to keep stuff confidential or something.
I wasn't at that meeting, so it's going to be super confidential.
That's where they always are, is under reports.
Oh, you want me to go?
No, not always. They were listed here before. In other meetings.
Okay, consent agenda. Is there any discussion? I have one. Justin, the engineering fees this month is $18,719.50. And I sent you an email in regards to this to get a breakdown of it. And just to kind of recap that, since January, we're at like $47,000 in engineering fees for Regional Park mostly. If you can help me out here.
I have a breakdown of April and March invoices in front of me. I don't have anything further back than that right now at this point in time.
Okay.
I do know the last 2 months, there's been quite a bit of work put into the regional park, into finalizing the grading plans. We've done some additional work for extending the utilities through there, as well as final design of the street through there. So we've kind of expanded the scope a little bit of the work that the Army's done in conversations to try to maximize the amount of work that they can do while they're here. So we've kind of taken the plans from a rough grading plan to final plans for the grading and the street portion and utility portions of it as well. Additionally, I know that we've done the pre-design on the picnic shelter, park shelter for the that is invoiced through that as well. So I think that was like $4,000 pound. There was capital improvement plan work. There was quite a bit of work on that piece of it as well. For the capital improvement plan, finalizing that, we had a lot of meetings with city staff, with the northern, your financial advisor, maybe with them to finalize the scope of how to finance the capital improvement plan. What else? There's been work on Highway 25 going to the south that we've started on, Garfield Avenue that we've started on. Some of the items have been for Kate and Casey's store review of their plans that the city gets credited that or gets money reimbursed for those expenses. Whitetail Ridge, finishing out their punch list work up there on the development. That's another item that gets reimbursed from the city, or from the developer, I should say. Work on the fire station is also invoiced through that, so that's included in that amount for the reports that have been approved by City Council. The GIS mapping upgrades are included in that as well, which has been brought forward to the council for approval. So on the review of the AUAR and update of that, spent a little bit on that. Well house, there's a little few charges on the well house. Mostly that was smaller charges just for keeping it on the PFA list and discussions with them on financing. A little bit of Preserve Montrose work, meeting with potential developers. As a potential developer comes in and inquires about what can be done out there, what the requirements are, we meet with them. So that's a little bit of a recap.
Okay, thank you. So Wendy, where's our budget at for regional park? Because the recap that he just did was $9,700 for regional park for March, and then $56,2450 for April.
I don't know without having anything in front of me.
Right,
I
so,
don't have anything to work.
the question is, I know there's a couple of our parks commissions that are concerned with spending. So, where we're at in the budget on it, if we can somehow get that information
You give it to Sean.
and
next
see,
park meeting.
okay, kind of see where we're at, and then, moving forward. So Justin, when they come in May, they'll be here like May 30th, right? National Guard?
Yes.
Where are you going to be at in that? Is it more handed over to them? Or,
Our involvement, we'll still plan on being involved. I plan on having an inspector out here on a part-time basis. I'm probably stopping out. My envisioning is that it'll be more time towards the front end and less time towards the back end. As they get up and running, and we want to make sure that they're grading things according to how they're supposed to be graded, since this is a standard grading project that, you give it over to a contractor and they do this on a daily basis. They have a lot of junior operators, all their surveyors are junior out there. Based on our meetings that we've had with the Army, both Sean and I believe that it's advantageous for us to be involved up front to make sure that they get it done right. As well as soil correction, we want to make sure that they're getting the soil corrections done properly within the roadway. Just like a contractor, we also watch a contractor and make sure that they're doing things correctly and that we're getting a product that's going to stand up over time. Same thing with the Army. The only thing is, like I said, they're not as used to doing this on a daily basis.
right, but they've done this quite a bit, correct?
Their operators have probably a varying level of expert experience, is my understanding. Some of them, like talking with their head surveyor, hardly any experience with testing at all, with soils testing. basically very, very little experience. They've done survey work, but it's different varieties of survey work, so.
Okay. Because I know, I mean, our budget, you know, we just want to make sure that we stay within the budget. So if we can.
And we did account for that when we were putting together, looking at what we're going to be looking at for budgets. At staff level, we did account for that expense for our involvement, being surveyors coming out to setting control. They have to do that so that the survey has something to go off of. Our involvement in the erosion control inspections. There has to be a certified, the state requires a certified state erosion control inspector. That's not something that is available that city staff members have or the Army have. So we have to go out there and inspect that. And so that time has been budgeted for in that, but I understand your concern, make sure that we stay within budget. That's why I'm trying to use an inspector that's on a project nearby as well, just to maximize that efficiency so that we keep that as tight as possible.
Okay. So Wendy, if we could get something then of a breakdown of kind of like where we're at and then like where, so like, I know you're not really gonna know anything, you know, come June, an estimation maybe? Is there a question? Oh, I thought somebody said something. So like at the next park meeting, if we can get, what we've spent so far this year, you know, on regional park engineering fees, just all around fees, what we've, and then what our budget was, and see where we're gonna be at. Thank you. Is there any other discussion? Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Wright County Sheriff's Department.
Thank you, Mayor, council, staff, citizens. We're happy to be here tonight. My name is Joe Haggerty. If you live in Wright County, which I know all of you do, I work for you. I serve as your sheriff here. I've been with the office a long time, as has the staff I brought with tonight. You've got Clayton Acewagen here, who's the deputy working Montrose, Sergeant Troy Walker, who's the district sergeant. We have 6 districts in the county. Try to break them down by precincts. That's for service reasons. We try to emulate the police department so that we work for you. I've got Lieutenant Todd Sandine here. We break the county into half. One lieutenant has half, the other half. We have a big patrol division. 87 deputies work patrol, so we're the largest county patrol in the state of Minnesota. We also have 2 captains with us, Sean Derringer, who runs the patrol division, and Captain Dan Anselman, who you'll be hearing from shortly. He'll go through the year-end report for 2016. Also, one of our deputies wearing a different hat tonight, Kevin Triplett, who's been with our office for a long time and now serves as your fire chief as well. Y'all received probably late today, we're still crunching numbers today. We have 13 cities that we supply law enforcement or public safety services to. We want to make sure our information is accurate. We went to a new record management system about 3 years ago, which really helps us grind those numbers down, give you the information you need. But I've got one person that does all that grinding. We keep it lean at the office, as lean as we can. And as a result, sometimes we don't get things as quick as you'd like. But what you'll notice in there is medicals are generally our high call for service. That's consistent with every city in Wright County. The nice thing is we do a lot more than just arrest people and write tickets. That's really a small part of what we do. We respond to a lot of medicals. We carry all the modern medical equipment. Probably the biggest lifesaver we carry outside of our oxygen units is a defibrillator. We've had over a dozen saves with the defibs.
somebody's heart and fibrillation where it's just kind of quivering like that, it just zaps some electricity through it and gets it pumping. We've actually saved 2 physicians, one out of Buffalo, who now I go to because he's a miracle doctor, and then he should be able to help, and then one up in Otsego. It's really been a hit for us. So all of our patrol squads have that. That's the beauty of having a squad in town or anywhere close, especially if you're having a problem with heart attack. Fire departments are great at it too. A lot of times we can be there within 2 to 6 minutes, and that's the time you want somebody there to put those stickers on your chest and to zap you. Suspicious activity is also a high call, which is fantastic. People reporting things to us help us. I tell our DARE students, like at Montrose and other schools, with 140 cops that we have, 87 work patrol, but 140 cops, if my math is right, that's 280 ears and eyes for a population of about 140,000 people in Wright County. It's not near enough. We need you to buy in. We need our citizens to buy in, and they do. If they see something that doesn't look right, you don't have to be a cop to know something isn't right. And they call us, they report it, and then we're able to be successful because of it. We have noticed a drug uptick, not only in Montrose, countywide, mostly attributed to the opiate craze that's going on across the country now. That's your Vicodin, your oxycodons, all of those painkillers. And when people can't get those and they're stealing them at open houses, when you have an open house for you're selling your house, we always talked, like we met with Caldwell, our Buffalo realtors, met their whole staff, Pat Budke, the Buffalo chief, and I told them, make sure when you're going to show somebody's house, tell those folks to get their meds out of the cabinets, because you'll get the people that are addicted to meth and other things coming through, and it happened twice since then when we told them. Someone will keep the realtor busy, the other one spends an inordinate amount of time in the bathroom, kitchen cupboard, just looking for dope. And they'll steal from their mother to get high. It's an addiction. We have a whole jail full of people with addictions, and we're always pulling for them, trying to get them sober. We do have a drug take-back program in the county. We just installed one at Delano City Hall. It looks like a book deposit. We've got one at the Wright County Sheriff's Office, Buffalo Police, Howard Lake Police, Annandale, and up in St. Michael at the Senior Center. We don't want those pills in our groundwater and our garbage, so we just as soon have them in our deposit. And we burn hundreds and hundreds of pounds. They have to go to an incinerator. We go up to Alexandria right now, and they have to be escorted by a cop, and we have to watch them in the burn barrels actually go into the incinerator. Those are some of the proactive things we're trying to do to fight dope. We also do the DARE program at any school that'll have us in. Montrose has done it for a long time, and it goes about the same time. I think, Mayor, you were there last year. It's a hit. It's like a rock concert. It's so much fun. It's positive interaction with young people, hopefully trusting people like me in uniform. And also, I always use it for recruiting, because somebody's got to replace all of us at some point, and we need good people in public safety, and we're able to attract that here. If you're going to be discussing contract tonight, Captain Anselman, we'll get into that a little bit. We met with the council last year just to talk about a possible increase, 2 hours increase. Waverly's looking at adding 2. It'd provide us 16 hours between the 2 cities, and personally I feel it's needed. I also feel it would work really good. We'd have 12 hours of dedicated coverage between the 2 cities, and that squad would go back and forth. It'd be 10 hours on Montrose, 6 on Waverly. Every 2 years we look at our contract rates and we set them for the next 2 years. We've been averaging, probably about a 3 to 3.5% increase over the last dozen years, and that's probably in your packet someplace. We still feel it's a heck of a value. We try to tailor it like a police department, but yet you have the resources of a major public safety organization. 240 employees we have, 140 of them are cops, and we're able to hire very good folks. We get them as proactive as we can. We try to seek out problems. It's always hard to gauge what you prevent, but we feel we're very effective at it. We're a hit with the citizens in Wright County. We get a lot of accolades, a lot of emails just thanking us for a service, but we certainly never rest on our laurels. We don't always get it right. When we don't get it right, we admit we don't get it right, and we move on from there. but we enjoy serving our 13 cities. We've been in Montrose for a long time. We started in 1969 in Cokato under Sheriff Darrell Wolf, who I work for, and it just kind of spread down Highway 12 here, Delano, Waverly, Montrose, and the only three that we don't currently cover is Buffalo, Howard Lake, and Annandale. All three of those departments are wonderful. We have a great working relationship with all of them, and of course we support them with assisting with calls, backup, and certainly with our Tri-County lab. If you ever want a tour, I'd love to show it to you. It's up in Andover, Wright County, Sherburne County, and Anoka Sheriff. It's a DNA certified lab. We get very quick turnarounds on DNA. We solve crimes that they won't solve in other places of the state, not because they can't. It's just a lab that they use just due to volume. They have to triage them. If it's not a personal crime, you may or may not get that print looked at with that DNA swab. But we solve crimes. I'm just amazed how far we've come just in the last 5 years. And that's all the taxpayers in the county share. I think it's about $3 a person per year for our crime lab. I'm very passionate about it. We have an excellent crime team that responds to any major incident, whether it's a burglary, suicide, homicide, and process the scene with technology they use and good old-fashioned gumshoe work, just talking to people. Then we forward that evidence right down to Anoka. We run it down there and we get turnaround times on DNA, sometimes within 30 days, which is unheard of. You get a burglar at your house, we'll swab the doorknobs, anything they might have touched, chances are it's not the person's first time burglarizing. Bad guys do bad things and they continue until they get caught usually. Sometimes they get out, they continue again. But if we have that DNA in our database, or the print in our database, we'll get a hit on it. And it is wonderful when you get a bad guy that's already in custody someplace else and you've got a hit on him and he doesn't know he's had yet. As soon as he thinks he's gonna get out, we scoop in and say, no, you're coming with us. We got you in a burglary in Otsego, St. Michael, Montrose, Waverly. So it's really something. The guys get a kick out of it, our detectives love it, and the citizens really enjoy it. If anybody wants to tour that, we also have an open house on June 9th. It's the second Friday. All the kids, I think, are out of school. I think Buffalo, Montrose, Hanover is out on the 8th. It's from 10 o'clock in the morning. It's at our shop, 3800 Braddock Avenue. It's been there about 9 years. Nice facility. Looks like it just opened yesterday. We keep it clean as a whistle. We have a good crew there. But if you come on up, you can see all the latest, greatest technology we have to help us solve crimes. You get to eat jail cookies without getting booked into jail, which is kind of a hit. Mayor, you'll get that next week or the week after. We'll have cookies. We have a Citizen Academy that we run. I don't know how many of you are in it. I know the mayor's in it. You're missing the shoot tonight, right? Brassett, so if you want to go after, I'll have them hang around. But we try to run them twice a year. We certainly have them in the spring. Talked to one of the citizens here. She's interested in it. We'll try to have one in September, October. It's 5 weeks. It's one night a week for those 5 weeks. You don't have to be to everyone, but you get to process crime scene, you get to drive our squads, not out on Highway 55 or anything, to stop cars in low light situations, shoot, don't shoot with a screen like this. You're holding on to guns, not shooting real bullets, but every situation you can imagine. Did you do that already?
Yes, I was shot dead.
Oh, most of us are. It's really something. Your adrenaline gets pumping. We're shooting tonight out there, the rest of the crew. You just get to do a lot. Then at graduation, I think Tom Kelly, maybe he'll be their county attorney. I'm there, usually someone from court services, just kind of getting an overview. And we really get some real converts, people that just don't know what does a sheriff's office do. And generally by the 5th and last night, they said, hey, we'd like it to go longer. But it's pretty much volunteer staff we have that puts it on. Some of our reserves help it, Sergeant Brian Johnson. Some of these gentlemen that are here today, and most of these guys are salary or they're already working, so it's not costing you any extra to have them sit in the seats tonight. But I'll probably turn it over to Captain Anselman if there's anything left to say. Dan, I'm sorry. Yeah, but I do hope to see y'all at our open house, 10 o'clock, 1 o'clock, Friday, June 9th, and we'll have all of our equipment out there, and we'll have a lot of staff there to answer any questions you have. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I guess I'm salaried, so I can talk for a couple hours tonight. We're going to go back to the beginning if we can. My name is Dan Absalom. I'm a captain within the Sheriff's Office. I'm my 30th year with the Sheriff's Office, and I'm one of the main liaisons for the Sheriff's Office when it comes to contracting. Like the Sheriff mentioned, we do 13 cities, about 81,000 hours of contracting on a yearly basis. What I'll be going over tonight is a 2016 activity, and that was mailed to you back in February email, and I added a couple other slides to help you make decisions about is it time for the city of Montrose to increase their contract level. We'll start off by just a 10-year look back where Montrose has been, and as the Sheriff talked about, Montrose has been contracted with Wright County for many, many years. So you can take a look at the look back from 2008 to current. And the last time Montrose added hours was from 5 hours to 8 hours a day. That was back in 2004. And currently Montrose is at the 8 hours of contracted law enforcement a day. So we're going to get into the activity, and we do have a very robust report tracking system that was put into place about 2 years ago. So we can really keep track and really kind of boil down what kind of activity is going on in all the different communities. We have 18 townships and 13 different cities that we provide law enforcement to, and they want to know what's going on. So we're able to collect a lot of data and give a lot of information back to the citizens and the city and township leaders. Every month we did a very detailed report from our office that lists all the calls for service, and sometimes it can be very lengthy. It's basically starting by the date, goes all the way through. Every call that we take starts off as a call for service, and a call for service could be somebody picking up the phone and reporting something to our dispatcher, or dispatcher giving that to the patrol officer. That's a call for service. Or if a deputy makes a traffic stop or something self-initiated, and then it might turn into a case after that. So we give you how the call started, which is a call for service. If you look at your report, you had 2375 total calls for service, but they turned into 1,127 cases. That means out of those 2,300 calls for service, 1,100 of those turned into a case, meaning an officer took some action or did some kind of report on that incident. So if you look at your monthly report, you'll see it might start off as a noise complaint, but then the officer got there and it turned out to be a domestic. So he's going to change it from what dispatch thought it was based on the information to what it actually was. If it goes to a case, if it just says information, area watch, then you know what to state as that call for service. But once again, we have a lot of information. We can get the city pretty much any amount of data that you're looking for. If you want more detailed information, if you have that report and you have some questions on it, give us a call and we can run a more detailed report. We can't put everything in there just because we'd be emailing 40, 50 pages. Tonight, we've got about 15 to 20 pages of information. We're trying to condense it, but trying to keep the meeting moving as fast as we can as well. The Sheriff talked a little bit about, we call the quality of life complaints. We actually broke down the activity in 3 groups. We got the quality of life, we got traffic, and we got crimes. Quality of life, pretty much every city that we do this with. Medicals are one of the top type calls for service that our deputies respond to. I'll put another plug in for suspicious activity. If you see something, hear something, something don't seem right, give us our office a call. I can tell you many, many success stories about people calling in information that just didn't look right in their neighborhood. They gave us a call, we got there, and it turned out to be something pretty major. A lot of times, it turns out to be nothing. It turns out to be the mailman got a new car delivering mail, or the newspaper person at 4 o'clock in the morning got a different vehicle, but the neighbor never seen that vehicle before. That's the type of information that we're looking for. You know what's right in your neighborhood, so give us a phone call and give us as much detailed information as we can, and we'll go out there and take a look at it. Like I mentioned, most of the time, it turns out to be nothing, but we want to be aware of what's going on in your community. Looking at traffic complaints, traffic calls, 9 DWIs, your seasonal parking, or people that park after hours on the city streets. You have the 2 to 6 o'clock in the morning, no parking. We educate people early with notice cards. You can't park between these hours. 14 people still parked on the street. 19 crashes. If an accident took place on Highway 12, the Minnesota State Patrol is the controlling agency for the state highway, so they will come in and write those crashes. So those numbers will not be part of this report. 71 traffic complaints, and that could be anything from speeding in a neighborhood to people running a stop sign, any kind of traffic complaint. The traffic stops, deputy stopped 367 cars in Montrose last year. Then you go down to the crime incidents. The number one crime, and this is real consistent with most cities, is thefts. And once again, there are different types of theft. You get theft from a motor vehicle. Somebody parks their car at night, somebody opens up the door and grabs a cell phone. You got theft from shoplifting. You got theft from the gas station. So if you want a more detailed report, what kind of thefts, we have 51, what kind of thefts were they? Give our office a call, email us, and we can send you a detailed report on exactly what kind of thefts or any of these different types of crimes. We can kind of break them down even further for you. As far as the information, how it gets to our deputies, our squad cars, everything you're looking at today, our deputies are able to access from their fingertips in the squad cars. We have technology that they don't even need to come to the office to do payroll anymore. Everything is electronic. We want the deputies to be self-sufficient in your community. We had issues with connectivity, specifically down in this part of the county. We think we got that corrected. We spent a lot of research and we reconfigured. We feel we got a pretty good fix, so the connectivity issue can be a big cumbersome problem as it was last year, because we want our officers to stay in the community. Network towns back 15, 20, 25 years ago, we had to drive to Buffalo to turn paperwork in. We had to drive to Buffalo to turn a lot of stuff in. We don't need to do that anymore. Our officers can stay in the town for the entire hours of their contract. So we'll go back and look at the crime comparison. It's a 4-year look back. You can see 2013 to 2016. 2015 was fairly quiet, but then 2016 was a pretty good uptick again, specifically with thefts. We're seeing a lot of fraud complaints coming out, a lot of scams. The sheriff mentioned a couple of them, but we do have members of our office that can come out and talk to almost any community group regarding the different scams that we're seeing in the office. So if you have a senior group or whatever it might be, we'll come out, we'll talk, we'll educate, we'll bring you some information, but we'll just kind of give you an idea of what the latest scams are. You get the IRS scam. IRS is not going to call you and say that you didn't pay your taxes. A lot of people fall for it. We see victims being victimized out of tens of thousands of dollars because they're very trusting and trusted people on the phone. So you got to be very careful that you're not a victim to anything like that. Next page is cases investigated by a detective. We have 9 full-time detectives. If an officer takes a call, needs additional work, our detectives are the people that put the cases together. They get all the information, they come to the scenes quite often. They're the ones that take the detailed statements and actually take the case, make something out of it, and present it to the county attorney's office. You can see in that report what kind of cases were actually investigated by our detectives last year. And for all the cities, we put just a couple of cases of interest. Last August, we had a homicide in Montrose where a gentleman was ran over by a vehicle, what we believe was a drug deal gone bad. And the second one was an ATV crash. A resident of the city was driving on a city street, 8:43 at night. ATV crashed and he was killed. So we'll go on to a major crimes investigation and also put a plug in for the Tri-County Lab. We have a team of deputies. We have one full-time and other deputies cross-trained to go out process crime scenes, and they're absolutely phenomenal at what they can do. They go out with the cameras, the DNA swabs, take pictures of footprints, and he sent them into the Tri-County Lab. And the sheriff mentioned that the bigger labs, the state labs, they can't concentrate so much on property crimes because we're so busy. It's basically, we're going to look at the person's crimes, the assaults, and everything else first, then maybe get to the property crime. But the Tri-County Lab will actually do some of those for you. So if somebody breaks into your house and burglarizes it, it's a victim crime, but it's also property crime. And we want to make sure that that DNA, that fingerprint that we collect is processed as quick as we can. Because we know if these people are not caught, what do they keep doing? They're going to keep going out and victimizing other people. So we think it's a heck of an advantage for $3 a person to get that level of service. And a turnaround time to get some of that information back is dramatically less than the state lab can give us. So you can see 20 different incidents last year. Our major crimes investigation unit came out to help us out. We call it the CSI of Wright County, but we can't solve a crime in an hour. We're not as good looking as the people on TV, even though the people that come out than I think they are. We have city comparison. You can kind of see where the city of Montrose is compared to Rockford and Delano. We are doing an annual report that should be out in the next 6 to 8 weeks. That will have the entire county information as far as what happened. So you can really take a look at where does Montrose compare to all the other cities that we provide law enforcement services to. You can take a look at the calls by the time of day, and this is pretty typical, pretty much afternoon hours. It peaks up, people coming home from school, people coming home from work, people moving around. And then the calls by the day of the week, for some reason Tuesday is the busiest day for the city of Montrose. Some cities are weekends, some are flat level. Every city or every day of the week is equal. Tuesday seems to be the day of choice for law enforcement activity in Montrose. Then the next page is where do you stand compared to other cities with police departments for cost per capita. Cost per capita is what does every citizen, every city pay for law enforcement services. So we grab information from similar sized cities for population. We got their police department budget, and we got their population. It comes up with the cost per capita. The average is $204.27, and the city of Montrose, and these are 2015 numbers, and we'll be doing it again in the summer 2017. So these are a little bit old, but back in 2015, Montrose was at $62.59. And the next page is just a little bit different look. It shows you the population, the actual law enforcement cost to those cities, and once again, the law enforcement cost per capita. The page is Montrose calls coverage by hour. This is your current coverage that you have. You have the day car that comes in between 10 o'clock in the morning and 2. Then you share the car with Waverly from 6 o'clock until 2 o'clock in the morning. A little bit later on, we're going to be talking about making a request for 2 additional hours. You can see between those during the afternoon times when historically it's busy, we have a gap in coverage. So the area cars are really becoming overwhelmed by trying to keep track of some of the calls that are coming up in the various cities in this area. Then we also kind of took a look at what do other cities the same size population-wise have for patrol hours. And this is not administration in the office, this is not detectives. How many hours do they have for patrol? Montrose currently has 8. You can see the average is 28 hours on a daily basis. You can kind of go down. The largest we found was Deep Haven with 58 hours of patrol a day. So you can see where Montrose compares to, again, similar sized cities in population. Then we go to Montrose activity by unit. Montrose contract car took 65% of the calls in town in between 2014 and 2016. The area car picked up 32%. Then the 3 other percent would have been like our sergeants or other law enforcement agencies that would have came in, maybe the state patrol to kind of help out. Then break it down a little bit further, you can see what car. We got the day car, afternoon car, evening car, mid-morning Montrose car, and the Montrose evening car. So it kind of gives you a snapshot of who is taking the calls for service that are coming out in Montrose. Then we got a question on response time. So we ran this report quick today just to see what is the response time for calls in Montrose. So we took all the calls for service, took out the traffic stop, we took out the self-initiated, because self-initiated is basically, I'm checking the city park, I'm there, there's no response time. I'm stopping a vehicle, there's no response time. So these are actually the calls we're responding to. The top line is the area car, the bottom line is your contract. So it's 6 minutes for contract cars and 8 minutes on the average for area cars for November through April. If you go on to the next page, we broke it down into the high priority calls. The priority calls are going to be your crimes in progress, your burglaries, your theft in progress, your fights, your domestics, your medicals, your alarms, anything that we got to get through as quick as we can. And the contract car, the average was 3.8 minutes over those 5-6 months, and the area car was 5.1 minutes. I tried to Google and find out what is the average law enforcement response time, and some departments, they think an hour for a non-priority call is acceptable. We're under 10 minutes for non-priority, and we're at 3.8 minutes. And anything under 4 minutes, in my opinion, is a pretty good response. Okay, then we're going to come up to law enforcement recommendations. With all the information we presented, you've been at 8 hours for about 13 years. We would like you to get to 10 hours. We met with Waverly last fall, and it's a good partnership between the city of Waverly and the city of Montrose to share those resources. You would have a dedicated coverage from 10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning, sharing resources. Montrose would be 10 hours a day, and Waverly would be 6 hours a day. So you would be getting a bigger chunk of the pie for coverage, but you would have those cars in your communities for 16 hours dedicated. That gap in the afternoon, when the calls for service show, that's when we are one of the busiest times. We need to get those hours covered, and we met last fall, we tried to figure out, can we adjust the current hours, and it just don't work. I mean, you can take a look at what the other cities have for patrol hours. I think Montrose is lacking in hours, we're asking for 2 hours. I think with 2 hours, you get to 16 between the two cities. I think we could do a pretty good job with having that dedicated 16 hours coverage. And population for 2004 was a little over 2,000. I believe now it's over 3,000, a 46% increase in population since the last time we added any contract hours. And once again, with those extra 2 hours between the 2 and 6, between the two cities, that's when we're statistically one of the busier times of the day. Kids are getting off the school bus, people are coming home from work. That's when we're seeing most of the activity. That's when the people want to see the squad cars drive through the neighborhood to assure that they have some kind of law enforcement presence. So the goal would be to get to 16 hours between the two cities, Montrose 10 and Waverly 6. There's a couple options. One option starting July 1st of this year. The additional coverage for Montrose would cost roughly $25,367. That'd have to be sorted out with the auditor's office for the exact dollar amount. Contract rates for next year, we are working on them with the county board. They should be set hopefully by mid-June. So hopefully within the next 6-8 weeks, we'll know what the contract rates are going to be. We're going to try to keep them as low as we can, but we do have to cover all the costs associated with putting a deputy in a patrol car. Equipment's going up, wages have gone up a little bit. So we have to make sure that we're covering our costs so the people in the townships aren't subsidizing the people that are contracting with the sheriff's office. So I'll stop talking. If you guys have any questions, I'll probably get Captain Derringer to come up if you have any specific questions regarding kind of day-to-day operations. He oversees the patrol division. You can kind of talk about just the day-to-day operations and any questions that you might have regarding that.
This $25,000 figure that we get, that's just for the end of the year?
That's for starting July 1st and going to the end of the year. And I wish I could give you a more solid number as far as what the contract rates might be set for 2018 and 2019. Historically, they've been around 3 to 4%, give or take a little bit. So you can kind of do the math a little bit, project out what they might be for 2018. Once again, we'll try to keep as low as we can, but we have to make sure we cover all the costs associated with the contracting.
Question.
Yes,
Okay, so our time currently is, we have it 10 a.m. to 2,
yes.
right, and then 6:30 to 2? Is that right?
6 to 2.
6 to 2.
And that 6 to 2 is insured with the city of Waverly.
So really it's 10 to 2 and 10 to 2, but because they're in Waverly, we have them. So we really have them from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. But they're in Waverly from 6 to 10, so they share
Not
from
necessarily,
6 to 2.
not necessarily, because this is shared cars,
Right.
so they kind of go
That's what I
between the
mean.
cities.
So we share them from 6 to 2, we share it.
If you want a dedicated car that does not leave Montrose, there's going to be a substantial cost. Sharing resources, and we share resources with 13 contract cities the way we are. It's a cost-saving way to do business, and between 2-3 miles, you can see the response time is pretty adequate, under 4 minutes. So for cars in Waverly, there's a medical, we talked about the defibrillator and squad car, we can get to a resident in a reasonable period of time to do life-saving methods to get that person going again.
So if I go back, just off the top of my head, you had 367 stops in
Yes.
2016, right? And you're here for 8 hours currently with us, that's one stop a day. One. Right around there, right?
There's 365 days in the year.
So it's a
without
little over.
Right.
Right. So that's not a lot.
We really dictate, traffic is one part of our job, community policing is a huge part of our job. If there's traffic issues, we'll deal with the traffic issues, there's no doubt about that. Once we talked about giving us information, we got 71 complaints. So every little over one a week for traffic complaints that have come into our office. So we listen to the public. If the public wants more aggressive traffic enforcement, we're not out to make a fundraiser. We're trying to make people change their behavior and how they're driving. You guys tell us, how's the driving in the city of Montrose? You guys seeing a lot of traffic problems? We're not going to sit on Highway 12 just to make revenue because somebody's passing through, unless they're violating the traffic laws, causing a public safety issue.
The only safety issue that I see is on the east side of town, right before the speed limit goes up, when you're going up to Zephyr Avenue or Arizona, trying to turn left in the mornings. I know, I'd say probably 2-3 mornings a week. Seems like almost get rear-ended. Sometimes people pay attention, other times not. So, I know that's an area that is of concern for me for driving, but I don't know what you do out there. Cars buzz around you at 55 mile an hour on the shoulder.
Is there a passing lane?
No.
Okay. Well, first thing is start with MnDOT, and if there is a lot of left-hand turning traffic, is try to get a dedicated turn lane or passing lane in there.
It's in the works.
It's in the works,
Yeah.
a couple years out, but.
You click on engineer again.
But there was just a car accident there. Correct, Kevin? Thursday, Friday?
Friday.
So that's an area of concern to me because I see that right outside the front window of work.
We have a traffic division that all we do is work traffic. And we partner with the State Patrol quite a bit. We do saturations where we get 2-3 deputies together, including State Patrol, sometimes local city officers as well. We work in Howard Lake, Buffalo, and Annandale. And if it's a concern, we can actually go out there and work and see how bad it actually is,
Okay.
and give a report back to the city. So I just need the information. If you could just contact our office, give us the exact location, or maybe one of these gentlemen can just jot it down, and we'll do that, and we'll get that information back to you and see what it looks like.
That would be great.
Just let me know when you're there so I don't pass.
Good job. Really.
So then, if we increase with Waverly, what is the cost to Waverly? What do they have right now?
Waverly they're at 4 hours, they're going to 6. So their cost is identical. The hourly rate per city is the same for all 13 contracts. So they'd be going from 4 hours up to 6 hours. So they'd be spending an additional $25,000 for the remainder of 2017 as well.
So we'd be at around $230,000 for the rest of the year.
Plus the, that's what
Right?
you're, 220.
And once again, we strategized last fall to come up with the current contract hours, the current level of coverage, and there's no easy way to do it. It's just you're gonna have a hole somewhere. And looking at the history, it is a strong recommendation from our office to start getting at least those 2 hours. You're starting to fall behind a little bit, and we don't want to play catch up. So, we do this for 13 cities. We're not gonna tell you to add hours if we don't truly believe that. From 2008 to 2015, we only added 4 hours for all the contract cities, 4 hours a day. The economy's coming back, people are starting to build, people are starting to move around a little bit more. You're seeing things starting to build up again. We don't want to be falling behind where all of a sudden the drug problem is so out of control, we're spending 2 years trying to combat it to get it back to where it is. So I think the 2 hours is reasonable. We understand, we work with the budget in our office too, and $25,000 seems not like a lot of money, but it's a lot of money, it really is, so we understand that. So before we come up and make recommendations for adding hours, we have our entire command staff sit down and we look at all the data. Is it time, is it right? is, it doesn't make sense, and it really does with the partnership with Waverly, which is unique. Not a lot of cities have that partnership. We used to be St. Michael, Albertville, and Hanover for years, but each city grew to the point where they needed their own contract hours to kind of tailor fit the needs of their communities.
When you talk about community policing, what do you mean by that?
Well, we are part of your community. The sheriff said, you guys are our boss. We try to get involved with the community as much as we possibly can. We just got a Facebook message here last week from a mom saying, hey, thank you. 2 deputies, 1 training officer, 1 new trainee, seen a young lad playing basketball by himself, so they stopped and shot a couple hoops with him, you know, for 5 minutes. Some people might say, hey, you got a couple deputies shooting up and they're supposed to be working. But we want that officer, those officers to connect with those young members of the community. So if they hear something, they see something, they're comfortable coming up. We solve so many crimes, and we've got school resource officers in pretty much all the schools within our county. And those people are fantastic as far as the communication between the students and the deputies talking to the contract deputies, how much information we can share. But we don't want people not to be comfortable coming up and actually having a chat with us. Can we do that all the time? Sometimes you can't. I mean, sometimes we can't stop because we're going to a call. We'll give a waiver every time. But we want to be part of the community. Like the sheriff mentioned, we want to look like a police department, that you guys have something here called a contract with the sheriff's office.
My concern when you talk about community policing is we never have the same officer. I mean, it seems like our officer rotates like every other month. That's a little probably an exaggeration, but if our officer is here right now, correct?
Yes.
And I don't think I've ever seen him before.
He's actually new.
Okay.
We had a lot of attrition in law enforcement. They did an early retirement about 2 years ago. So we've seen a lot of attrition from our office. A lot of people that could retire, retired. A lot of people went back to their home communities. And you're going to see that. You talk to any small PD, and the attrition is pretty bad. We take a lot of cops from different departments that have to hire new officers to come in. We bid shifts. It's a year minimum in the communities, but some things out of our control. Maybe something happened where that officer working Montrose got promoted to sergeant. He went to be a detective. You're going to have to get new staff coming in. But we realize that continuity is huge because you need to know the people, and it takes some time to get that relationship with the people, know who's coming, who's going, who's supposed to be coming in the post office at 8 o'clock at night. I get that it takes time, and it's challenging for us too. You know, I got to look at name tags once in a while for all these new deputies that we're hiring. And hopefully it's going to slow down because I think the retirement thing is pretty much shook out. We fired probably 25, 26 deputies in the last probably 18 months. So we have a pretty good, you know, a lot of new faces. But I hear what you're saying, continuity is huge, and we do the best we can. Your area cards, been down here for multiple years. Mike Kazmarek has probably been down this part of the county for 25 years. You got Steve Bonnick, he's been down here for about 10 to 15 years. You got Matt Sturm. So your area cards, who are the cards around, they got a lot of seniority. So they've been down here for multiple years. But yes, that's a concern, and it's a concern to us as well.
The other concern is how often we see the officers sitting in one spot for a long period of time.
One thing we need is we get emails. This is happening, no specifics. You've got to let us know when, where. Like I mentioned, our squad cars are mobile offices. It's like the mini spaceships of tomorrow. We can do everything in them. They're going to be parked off in the parking lot doing paperwork. I'd rather be sitting in a car than sitting in an office like this, because if they come inside, and guess what? They're sitting inside the fire station. So we try to keep them off the squad cars. They're going to be doing paperwork, and I can tell when they do reports. There's an audit trail. I can see what they're doing in their squad car. So if you call up, hey, I see the squad sitting for an hour and a half, we'll look at it. We have GPSs in all the squad cars. They don't like it because we can track them, but give us specific information, when you see them and how long and the location. We'll track it down. If it's a problem, we'll address it. But we got to know about the information. Just to say that cars are parked here, cars are parked there. Okay, when did it happen? I want to take a look at it so we can go back and see what they were doing. 9 out of 10 times, I can say he did 5 reports. Here's the audit trail of them submitting a report to our office. Maybe they were doing something that wasn't worthwhile to the city of Montrose, but just give us the information, we'll look into it.
Because I could give just an example of a day on April 21st from 10:30 to 12:30. There was two officers sitting up at Reds.
Okay.
And so if they're doing their reports, I get that they have to do reports and everything, but that's 2 hours of our time. That's, $130.
And to be honest, if you see two squads sit side by side for 2 hours, you better call. You better give us a phone call so we can take a look at it. We have supervisors stop in to talk to the deputies. It might be a supervisory chat, it might be exchanging information. Let us take a look at it. We'll get right back to you. Hey, this is what we found out. But if we don't know, 2 weeks later, a month later, it's pretty tough to go back and, hey, you're parked in Reds next to this car for 2 hours. What were you doing? I don't know. So the quicker you can give us the information, we'll definitely look into it. We have sergeant supervisors on every shift. Every deputy is part of a team. So they have a team sergeant to monitor their activities. So we will find out what's going on and get back with you. But the key again is, you gotta let us know. You gotta let us know. If you don't think something is right, we'll take a peek at it.
We did have, as you know, an open forum. We usually have it at the end.
Okay?
Do you mind if they address the questions here right now?
No, absolutely.
I know one of them was through. If you want to ask questions now, or if you want to wait till later.
It's regarding to this is best to ask right now.
Yeah, you can come up, just state who you are.
For those of you that don't know me, I'm Marie Klug at 707 Brook Circle West here in town. And before I start, I want to make sure that the officers know that I am not impugning your integrity, and I'm not saying you're not doing a great job, because it's a very hard job that you guys do, especially in this day and age. So as I ask these questions, it is not to be disrespectful at all, but please understand that. I've listened to you kind of go through the different stats and things. When I was going through this report, I noticed that the report, really honestly, when you're looking at the numbers, things have gotten worse. Things spiked during the contract time hours. The stats have gotten worse over the years. That report really makes you look worse instead of better, and that's a little bit concerning to me as a taxpayer. I'm also concerned that the Sheriff's Department isn't really meant to be a police department. It's meant to be an arm of the court. And it concerns me greatly that we're getting rid of local police departments which do community policing, which is inherent. Your definition of community policing is much different than mine. Community policing is being at local events, not as a paid person, but as showing up to get to know people, get to know what face goes with what name, kind of who's the quote-unquote troublemakers, things like that. It's not stopping to play basketball once in a while, which was great, and that was last summer, because I saw it, I commented on it. I think our definitions definitely are different than that. We need people here that can do ordinance enforcement, so it's not sitting on the shoulders of our city staff all the time. Our office people should not have to be going out sending letters or, having the attorney do it. Police should be able to be involved with that. For the amount of dollars that we're looking at, and the amount of hours that we're getting, it appears to me that Waverly is kind of getting the better end of the deal if we were to extend this. We're paying more and they're getting the benefit of it. I have talked to people in Delano that are on city council, and they are looking also at ending their contract and starting going back to their own police department. And they're interested in partnering with us. People say that the costs are huge. I don't disagree with that. But coming from a family where my dad started the police department that is still in force today, it can be done. You don't buy everything new, you buy things used. But then you have community policing. You have the same officers here all the time, and you have control of them rather than having to rely on somebody else at the county that maybe they do what you want, maybe they don't. So from my point of view, I'm asking you guys to look at other options rather than just accept what's being thrown at you and saying, well, we got to have something. Something's better than nothing.
Is there any other discussion? I know.
I'm Darrell Hainsey, I live at 206 Crystal Lane, and I want to thank you guys for your hard work. I think you guys do a good job. I think the better 2 hours would be on the backside, like from 2 to 4, because that seems to be when the riffraff is out more. They don't come out during the daylight, they come out during the dark, and they got the cover of night. That's all I gotta say.
When is our contract up? Is it in June?
No, it's
First
first
and
January.
January.
That's first year.
Is there any other discussion?
No, I feel too that we're look at other options, let's see what's going on.
Do you have a concern, Wendy?
Our contract is up at the end of this year, correct? So you have some options. You can, if you want to extend the coverage, so that works, we basically have somebody here from 10 in the morning till 6 the next morning. You can do that for this year
Right.
and look at options throughout the year, because if you were to decide you're gonna go through a police department, you would do that, you know, when the contract is over anyway. So, and whether or not you can get one started in 6 months or 7 months, you know, I don't have any idea. I don't know what it takes, but, you know, if you're concerned, like Gerald said, if it's, you know, if the crime is happening at that time and you want to extend coverage, you could do that now and look at something else throughout the year to see where you want to go. We usually sign the contract later on in the year, I think it is. Let me see.
I think August is when,
Yeah.
because we have a budget too.
Yep.
And we need to know for the next year. I think the contract says August.
I don't think you're right. So you have a couple months, you know, to decide what you want to do. It might be kind of tough to have a police department started by August 1st.
Any other discussion?
Do we want to wait then till, and look for other options? Do we want to look at adding extra coverage?
And I think we should table it for at least 1 month, have somebody do some checking.
A month? Think we can get that information in a month?
Well, I mean, just to compare, we just got this information.
This is the same information we got the last time we had this discussion. We've had this for a long time. It's the exact same. The only thing that's different, I think,
I
is,
thought it was a little bit worse.
no, it's the same exact thing that they presented when we had that last fall workshop or that special meeting or whatever it was.
About a year ago. Because at that time, the option was to add hours for the rest of 2017 and all of 2018. So, but this is the same information that,
Probably the same thing, we tried to divide the hours.
So what if we were to look at just, you said from 2 to 4, right, Daryl? 2 a.m., I'm assuming to 4 a.m. So if we were to even just adjust our hours at 10 to 2, at 10 a.m. to 2 p.m., and bump those hours to the evening hours, is that a possibility?
Time out though, because, I mean, if you go, well, I mean, the hours from 2 a.m. to 4, are you talking 2 a.m. to 4 a.m.?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, 2 a.m., the average calls by time of day is 41, 3 a.m. is 16, 4 a.m. is 16. But that gap that we're currently in right now, you're looking at 88, 102, 99, and 121. So I kind of feel like The evidence says otherwise.
I'm just asking the question because it was asked,
Oh,
so
sorry, okay.
that's okay. Go ahead.
Hi, Captain Sean Derringer.
Hi.
The numbers do support the squad in town Great Point from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. I think what's concerning for us is the time between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m. when there is no one in town. I think statistically speaking, Lieutenant Sandine and I spent a lot of time at the beginning of the year. We were looking at our schedule system and how can we revamp and make some moves, and it's really difficult, but we were looking at 4 area cars. And I know that we're here encouraging the city to come up with an additional 2 hours. But the city of Montrose is actually in a very good place. It's split right down the line between our 2 areas, 41 and our 5100 cars. So statistically speaking, 4110, which is our southeast day car, is probably the busiest squad in the entire county. And so when we start looking at 4110, 4130, our morning and afternoon cars in the southeast, our 5110 and our 5130, our 2 southwest cars, they are spending a lot of time in the city, and they're already busy cars. They're already handling a high volume of calls, and we're coming into town. Statistically speaking, right at 2 o'clock, you have that tick at 41, but then you drop from 3 o'clock in the morning through 6 o'clock in the morning. That's pretty relevant, which doesn't indicate a great need because you still do have that area car that's able to come into town and take those additional calls. I think the gal that came up here, she mentioned that statistically speaking, that it might not look bad because we're in town and that's the greatest volume of calls. That's to be expected when we're in town because a lot of that volume is going to come out of self-initiated activity where we're stopping a suspicious vehicle or we're stopping a vehicle for a traffic violation or a DWI, or we're seeing a problem in the park, we're addressing kids or something like that. All of those generate a CFS. We would expect the numbers to be a little bit higher when we are in town. What's concerning to us is the numbers are as high as they are between 4 and 6, or 2 and 6, excuse me, when there are no cars in town. So we're depending on the area cars a lot to cover those gaps in coverage. Same officers, looking at, you mentioned your own police department. I think Captain Anselman mentioned we've hired about 28 officers since November of 15. And so we're the 3rd largest sheriff's office in the state. We have a lot to offer our young deputies that are being hired here. Unfortunately, we're a border to the metro, so we're just close enough where our comparables should actually be more of the metro agencies. And we just lost an officer that was actually working in the south here. He'd been with us almost 2 years. He was hired by the Golden Valley Police Department and received a $10 an hour raise just by getting hired there. So retention is a problem. I think if you talk to the Annandale, Howard Lake, and Buffalo Police Departments, I know that I recently had a conversation with Chief Pat Budke up in Buffalo, wonderful guy. He had to put off promoting a sergeant for about 1.5 years because he had to let his officers gain the necessary experience before he was able to promote someone. So I think with the Sheriff's Office, we have a lot to offer our young deputies. I think that it's starting to slow down. I'm hoping that it's starting to slow down because it seems like an administrative full-time job, hiring people and retaining them and then training them to get them to where they need to be. And Captain Anselman said it very well. Our area cars, your people that are in the area surrounding the city, have all been longtime deputies that have been here for a while and work this specific area. So they're very aware of the problems that are unique to the city. And Clayton, wonderful young deputy. He's been on FTO for about 1.5 months. And because we just lost another deputy back to Mississippi. And so it is problematic, but we truly understand that. And me, as the schedule maker, I always try to get that continuity to the cities. And that's one of the most important things we tell our new FTOs coming out of training is we like to find them a home. We like whether it's St. Michael, Albertville, or whether it's Montrose, Waverly, or Cokato. We want them to identify their problems, take some ownership, get out and meet people. I still remember the first 1.5 years of my career, I was split between Albertville, Otsego, and Delano. I still have relationships from being the contract car for those cities way back 20 years ago. So it is important, and we as the administration also realize that too. So any other questions regarding patrol? I'm certainly willing to stick around too if anybody has more questions.
So if we were to add the hours, it's being added on at the end, correct? So instead of being done from the 6 to 2 a.m., we go from 6 to 6, 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. Or what's
10 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the morning.
okay, so it's being added in the middle? Okay. So originally I thought my understanding was it was going on the end, and I thought, well, then that wouldn't really gain us anything. But
And there was a comment about Waverly getting the better hand of the deal. Waverly only gets 6 hours and Montrose gets 10. We understand that the deputies understand that Montrose gets a bigger piece of the pie for contracting. They split their time, so the cities get their equal coverage, meaning Montrose would get 10 and Waverly would get 6. We've been doing that for years, so they understand that concept.
Do we have a question?
do you have a question? Yes.
Yeah, come on.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I think we should have a vigilante group in town. That will stop a lot of this. And I think we need more coverage from 2 in the morning because the bars close at 2 to 4.
Or suppose that
No, ours goes at 1. Yeah. Ours and Montrose goes at 1, but some Waverly closes at 2.
Yeah, so we'd be giving them from Montrose, going to Waverly and coming back. That's all I know.
Thank you.
Vigilantism had its place, but it was probably in the 1800s.
No, it wasn't.
Yeah,
No, it wasn't.
I'm pretty sure the League of Minnesota Cities Insurance would not allow you to hire a vigilante.
I didn't say hire them.
We can appoint one. Perhaps, the gentleman that did talk about 2 in the morning till 4, as Captain Derringer said, you still get that coverage, and if we have something happen in a specific city, we send resources there at no extra charge to the specific city. We had a huge drug problem up in Maple Lake that we arrested a few people and they actually went to prison. But we bring other deputies in, keep them over on overtime. We're on bike patrol, on foot, because we needed to stop it. We were out until the sun starts coming up in the summer, about 4:40, 5 o'clock, something like that, and it was effective, and we can do that. Usually we'll see trends. Like a couple of years ago in Montrose, we were having garage burglaries, mini storage burglaries, those type of things, criminal damage to property to cars, and that's what we did. We just threw a lot of resources at it, because you'll get 1 or 2, generally it's young people, out goofing around, supposedly staying overnight at somebody else's house. Parents don't know where they are, the parents aren't home. And you can have a 2-person crime wave that'll up your stats. Usually it's thefts, criminal damage to properties, those types of things. And generally they only last for a couple weeks. It either stops on its own or we get information through our school resource folks. The schools are great at getting us info because kids trust the cops that are working the schools. Are generally uniformed, and we can solve it. Or once in a while we get lucky, or we get that citizen that calls in, sees something that doesn't look right in the neighborhood, and that's gold. But it works, it definitely works. But vigilante, it's kind of like a posse. In fact, we're going to recognize one of Montrose's own here, the second meeting, or next week, on Tuesday at the board meeting. Fred Reamer, who lives right down here by Charlie's place. Fred's been with us in a volunteer capacity primarily for 52 years. He said he's done. Yeah, I said, you're a quitter, Fred. I talked to him today, and I'm kind of the historian for our office, going back at least to Darrell Wolf, but I go way back to 1855 when we became a county here. And I had the privilege of being the 27th sheriff. Of course, the Goddard sheriffs was Darrell Wolf, who had 26 years in, which is the longest
10-year sheriff, and I'm always reminded I just don't measure up to Daryl, but of course, he was about 6'8" or so I don't think I'll make it.
Twice your size.
What's that?
Twice your size.
Yeah, thanks for reminding me.
And I think one more brief point that I forgot to make the first time I was up here, you guys specifically mentioned the traffic problem, Highway 12 Zephyr in Arizona. It's all about communication between the city and us, if we're aware of that. To give you an example, about 2 weeks ago, we were actually doing a meeting similar to this in Hanover, and we had some feedback from a citizen in Hanover saying that the light at County Road 34 and County Road 19 was problematic. There's been a number of near misses, a couple of traffic crashes. I pulled the stats, it seemed appropriate. I diverted my traffic car to that area for 2 mornings. He actually conducted a saturation report, and after that detailed saturation report, we met with the Highway Department engineer, and they said, yes, this does appear problematic because he was timing the lights. They didn't seem to be set at the right time. They went out, retimed the lights to 5 seconds instead of a 3-second, given the speed limit difference. And so I sent him back out there last week. He did another saturation, and it was a complete flip, just because we were able to make an adjustment from a 3-second light to a 5-second light. So we have the resources that we can divert to problem areas, as the sheriff said. And the other thing is we have a lot of resources throughout the entire county that we can put to those. And if we're having a problem area or something needs to be addressed, it's a phone call away. So it does work very well when we get the information.
Is this budgeted for this increase out of this year's budget? And if not, where's the money gonna come from? Because now we're looking at almost $250,000 for 8 hours, plus an additional 2 hours of coverage per day. Can our tax base afford $250,000 a year for police coverage? I think it's asking an awful lot of the taxpayers.
It's not budgeted for this year, I mean, so we'd have to sit down and see where we get the money from.
I'm going to ask council to just set it aside for now, and as long as the money hasn't been appropriated and we've got to find money, I'm going to ask council to just let this additional 2 hours of coverage go until the next contractor, until council and maybe the constituents determine whether or not we want to stay with Wright County, or if we want to go with our own department. Because I mean, an additional $25,000, $30,000 added on to this year, I don't know about you, but I don't want to see my taxes go up any higher. We're already giving taxes to the county through our state taxes in order to provide us services. So it's to me, it's kind of a double dip. We're already paying for service. If we call for service in 911, somebody's got to show up. So we're already at $200,000 plus. And we've got a crap load of problems that aren't getting taken care of. So I'd ask council to set this motion aside and move on to the next item of business.
What would happen, just throwing it out there, if we did not renew a contract? As he just stated, I mean, oh, here he comes. Obviously, we wouldn't have police service, but if we were to call you, you would still have to come out, correct?
Yeah, the gentleman's correct. You do pay general, property taxes, everybody does, and then each city or township, if they want over and above, like some of your ordinance enforcement that we do, some of the junk vehicle ones, the county attorney will pick up, seasonal parking violations,
unnecessary acceleration. Those are some of the ordinance that we do. We don't do signage, we don't do zoning, those type of things. If you do have your own police department, keep in mind, you're also going to have to hire an attorney to prosecute your petty misdemeanors and your misdemeanors. That's the bulk of what we do. Your DWIs, your domestics, your traffic infractions, parking. Right now, if you contract with the sheriff's office, it includes contracting with the Wright County Attorney's Office. So Tom Kelly prosecutes all of those. The other three police departments in the county, I believe Annandale and Buffalo share a prosecutor, private attorney, and Howard Lake has one as well. It's just additional costs. You would not incur booking fees. I believe Hennepin County, if you're a city police department, you pay a booking fee because the sheriff runs the jail, the dispatch center, those type of things. And that's something to keep in mind too, that your general taxes do pay for a lot of the other things we do, that even if you're a police department, you get at no extra charge other than your general property taxes. Your emergency manager, that's operated out of our office in case you've had a big event here, flood, tornado, whatever it is, all those resources would come to Montrose without any additional costs, as well as the communication division, the jail civil process is another thing sheriff's does. You don't have a lake in Montrose, but underwater recovery, people through the ice, all those types of things. The traffic enforcement, we're going to do that anyway. We still do that in the cities that don't contract with us. But it's really worked in Wright County. If there's a specific area where you don't think we're performing to the level that we need to, because you're getting price-wise, economical, you're not going to touch it with the police department. If you get a police department, I don't know how many people, if you can talk to Otsego, they studied it. Monticello's done 3 studies on it over the years, and it all comes back to the same thing. For the money, but we pride ourselves on the service. Like I talked to Phil Kern over in Delano, we want to provide service up here, and we're not going to please everybody. There's no way you can. You just look foolish when you try. What we do as best we can for uniform across, yet we try to tailor it to each city, and we try to keep the costs down. And you look at those comparables, those are accurate, and you can't argue with them. And how much do you want to pay? You can add more hours with us. Monticello has 48 a day, 40 in Otsego a day, 28 in Albertville a day, 32 in St. Michael a day, 16 Cokato, 16 Delano. They've all stepped up. They wanted that amount of coverage, and we just don't. We don't hear a lot of those concerns in other parts of the county. If it's the personnel, we're big enough with 87 patrol deputies. If we have a deputy that isn't working out, maybe they're too tough, maybe they're writing too many tickets, or a city says, man, they're writing everybody for 35 and a 30. We're not going to have a fundraiser. We're not going to lay paper all over the place. We want to work with people, get them to trust us. Certainly call us when something doesn't look right. And I'm confident we have that in Wright County. What we're trying to do in Montrose is I think we're going to have real good coverage if we can get that between the 2 cities. And like Captain Amselman said, it's pretty unique. A lot of cities won't work together on something, but it makes sense from public safety. You do see fewer police departments every year, and police departments are wonderful. People love them. Forest Lake is having a council meeting. I'm happy I'm not at tonight. 25-member department. Washington County does a lot of contracts like we do. The mayor there is pretty passionate about going with the county. The money doesn't, there must be another, something else going on there, because the money's only about $300,000 or $400,000. They have a fairly large budget if you're going to hire 25 cops. But for a city like Montrose, you saw the number of hours they had on there for similar cities, population and other dynamics, 28 hours a day. On the street, you're paying a cop for 28 hours. Anything that cop does to get in trouble, use of force, runs a red light, hurts somebody, your insurance is going to cover that. If you're contracted, you're indemnified on that. The county takes all the risk, the employee risk, the equipment. It's not even comparable. You certainly can do a study, we'll help you with it, but I'm fairly confident you're going to come back. It's a heck of a bang for the buck with the county. And like I said, we've been doing it since 1969. The one contract we lost was in Rockford. That did not go well, lasted for 2 years, and we were back. And we have not heard a complaint from that city since, and that's been 20-some years, I think. 2 townships contracted with us, Frankfurt, that is now St. Michael, Albertville, Otsego, and dissolved, pretty much merged with St. Michael and Otsego, both of those as townships, due to traffic concerns, because it was just growing like gangbusters on the east side. They contracted. We don't have any contract with any township right now, and like former Sheriff Gary Miller said, you know, I tell councils, and he lives just south of Clearwater. He's kind of he's in the township there. He said he knows if his house starts on fire, it's probably going to be a total loss because you're not going to have your services there quick. If he has a heart attack there, chances are he's not going to survive because I'm probably not going to be there in 6 minutes, or EMS isn't with the defibrillator or oxygen if he's choking. He says, I know that it's a little riskier health-wise, response time, living out in the township, but that's quality of life he wants. That's what a lot of people decide to do. In the cities, there should be the expectation from citizens to get services here quick, and you can do that with the police department. Certainly, we've got 3 wonderful ones in the county, but if you have an employee issue, it's tough to get rid of a cop, just like it is a teacher. And a lot of times they unionize, and those are all the issues you're going to bring on. Speak to Bob Darris, who's been working a lot of the cities here as a city administrator. He's been with cities that have had police departments. You can talk to Lori Johnson, who just left the city of Otsego. She was in Elk River and Otsego, and I'm fairly confident they'll tell you cops can be a headache. Believe me, I've got a bunch of them. If I didn't have employees to police, I love working with the bad guys, the users. They're great. I get along with them just fine. But you get some employee issues, and it is a headache on staff. And then if you have never had them, you'll experience it at some point, and it's not a good deal. But you don't have to deal with any of that when you're contracted. That's my sales pitch, and I can go on and on. And we've been pretty successful with it. But we'll support whatever you're going to do. If you want to go your own way and be a police department, we'll be right up front with you. We can help you with that too. Like Captain Derringer said, it's hard to find help right now. The economy's rolling. When the economy was in the tank, it was easy to retain employees. Nobody was hiring. Governments were doing more with less. We've always prided ourselves on being very lean. We've turned back probably $10 million at least in the past 7 years unused budget. We don't spend money for fear of not getting it. We've got a great relationship with our county boards over the years. And about 80% of our budget, we've got a big budget, it's about $26 million between the jail, which is a growing industry that we're actually bringing money in on now. $1 million last year. We'll probably not quite double it this year, but through boarding fees. But it's we turn money back if we don't need it, and that's personnel costs. So just like the school district, about 80% of our costs are our most valuable resource, and that's our people. That's our 240 people. But that's what any city that contracts us gets, a 240-member public safety agency to have their back if anything happens. We had a huge storm in Cokato years ago, one in Monticello. We had President Bush come through here, and we can send the house at no extra charge specifically to the taxpayers of Montrose. And we're taking up all your time tonight.
It's okay.
Is your force unionized?
Yeah, most of it is. I've got 4 unions just in the building. I'm in between clerical, communications, corrections. Corrections and communications are together. I have a supervisors union. The only ones that aren't are chief deputy and me are non-union, but it actually works pretty well. And I don't know about I know Buffalo Police's union. I doubt Annandale or Howard Lake is. Some of the smaller ones are not. But those cities also experience a lot of turnover right now. Buffalo's chasing its tail, trying to hire people. Big Lake, talked to Joel Sharp, the chief up there. It's tough to get into the profession. A lot of parents are probably keeping their young, the graduates away from this, just what you read going on in the big city with use of force complaints, people, getting shot for whatever reason and dying at the hands of police. And the media loves it. And I think it's scaring some people from the profession. But we were up at St. Cloud State recruiting on a career day. Every opportunity we get from DARE graduations, to every group I'm speaking to, I just encourage them to have their kids, or even second, third career. Our best luck has been with people in their 30s, 40s, 50s when the economy was bad. Computer folks, salespeople, they're wonderful. They know how to work. They show up to work when they're at work. They actually work, which is a heck of a concept for some people in the labor force. They stay to the end of the buzzer, and they keep a good attitude. Boy, they're gold, and I got a lot of them. So it's a good place to work, proud of them. And you do see a lot of new people, but they're a lot better than I was when I started. It's just amazing. And we lived through them. I look at reports every morning. I come in and look at our new residents in the jail. We're right up around 200. And then I read the reports that the deputies do, and I'm always impressed with them. And like I said before, we don't get it right all the time. When we don't, we admit it, we fix it, and we move on. I appreciate your time tonight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
So, any other discussion?
Do we need
Comments,
to
concerns?
take action on this tonight?
We do not, no. Nope.
I think we should make a plan though. I mean, I don't want to just set it to the side and then come August, we're scrambling. So
Right.
do we want to have a workshop and discuss this further? Do we want to consider conducting a study on costs of where we are now and equipment? And who's going to do that? How do we pull that data? If we want to do a workshop, are we going to do a workshop? I think we need to have a plan in place.
I agree. So if we did a workshop, well, there's so many things. So what we need to look at, and it sounds like the concerns are possibility of looking at our own police department, which obviously we can't do that in the next 6 months. What the cost would be is neighboring cities looking at doing the same options, and if they want to partner with us. Where we are in the budget, just so I think starting out would be a workshop just to get all them things. Figure who wants to contract data. I would say Jill, just because you're the computer.
Oh, for real?
But do you have the time? Because I know it's getting busy right now with everything that's going on in the ordinance, so
Yeah.
I don't want to point it on you.
I think so. Yeah, I mean, I question too if staff should pull some of this data. Wendy, do you have
Because
time?
Wendy's not here, that's what I'm asking.
No, I mean, I can certainly assist where assistance is needed.
Because we need Wendy's input on budget, obviously. Because currently, I don't think it's in our budget to add the 2 hours for the remainder of the year.
Are you sure? It's not, okay. No. I just, it was discussed when I was here.
Do you want to hold a workshop like that second Monday, well, fourth Monday, I guess would be in June? Normally we have our council meeting the second. We have the council meeting the second Monday, and then the fourth Monday is kind of set aside for if we need to do anything different. You want to hold a workshop then in May or like, or
June 26th, that would be.
I will not be
it
here.
would have to be it won't be here.
Okay. I think we should try to make it when everybody can be here.
Yeah, I agree.
Is it just that week in June? Or
That whole week will be hard. I mean, we have to do it at City Hall anyway, so the only, the Lions are gonna have to meet there the first and third Monday, because this will be closed in June. So you might be able to do it that Monday, but you could pick a different day.
So what day would be feasible for you, Melissa?
But I think you should give us till like June, because it'll take a while to pull something together.
Any day but Tuesday.
So Tuesday the 20th was no?
What about Wednesday, the 21st of June? It's the first day of summer.
You're gonna do it like, say, 5 o'clock or 5:30, does that work for everybody?
Earlier?
These guys don't get done, I don't think, till 5. Well, we're there. We're there, so it doesn't matter what time you want to do it.
5 o'clock?
4:30, 5 o'clock, yeah.
Oh, yeah, good time.
Wednesday, June
21st,
21st.
5 o'clock.
Okay.
Okay. So for now, we were tabling the Wright County Sheriff's Department coverage, 2-hour additional coverage. Correct. We need a motion, we don't need a motion for that.
No, there was no motion.
Okay. Well, thank you guys for coming. Wendy, where are you at? Okay. Well, yeah, let's get close. Thank you.
See ya.
Okay. All right. Moving on, reports and council meetings this month. Melissa. Here.
Let's see, we had the audit meeting, the council meeting, we had our annual ribbon meeting. We did make it to the Easter egg hunt. We had the annual ribbon 5K. The Board of Appeals and Equalization, and we had a workshop before that. And I believe that was it. And then the EDA prior to this.
Jim?
I attended the Montrose on the Move meeting that was held here last month. I was at the Park and Rec Easter egg hunt. I ran the Light of the Night for Heroes almost 5K. The Board of Appeals and Equalization. The workshop that was before that. The EDA meeting before this. Might be it.
This is big one, right? All right, so I did the Rose Haven fundraiser, the Easter egg filling, personnel reviews, council meeting, the community survey here at Community Center, a luncheon at Grace's Place, the egg hunt, 3 Wright County Sheriff's Department classes, planning and zoning, staff meetings, beyond yellow ribbon, workshops. Oh, was that a conference? I think. Park and Rec personnel. Met with, doing a lot with the Rose Haven fire still. That's a lot of work, but, yeah, Lloyd.
Okay, the audit, EDA meetings, council, planning and zoning, council workshop, and tax appeal.
Audit, city council, fire department, Beyond the Yellow Ribbon meeting, EDA, and then our Beyond the Yellow Ribbon 5K. And if you can find a route through town that is 5K, I'm happy to take that under advisement.
I gave one to Corey.
Thank you.
Isn't it straight from Jackie B's to 107 and back?
It is, but
Right,
we've
and
had
yeah.
very good comments from, because, and thank you, Sean, for letting us use the truck, and roadblocks. When we went around and picked up afterwards, we had probably 15, 20 different places with people out in the front yards cheering on, having campfires, things like that. So just going up and down 107.
You know,
boring. You don't have the community involvement, and with the way we did it through town, there's way more community involvement, way more positive feedback from the community, the runners, walkers, everyone involved, so.
It was a great run. I have no complaints about the run. It was just not quite, but.
Maybe your pedometer's off a little.
Oh, and everybody else.
I think, yeah, because everybody came in there. That's supposed, okay.
It was cool. Well, 5K is 2.8 to 3.2. And it was, most people said it was about 2.75, so.
Yeah.
5K
And
is
with,
3.15. I was like,
yeah, well, you're right, putting the variance that they allow, and then the other thing for staffing to make it a safe run for people.
It's all good. I just, I'm just gonna keep driving
Just
that.
gonna pick on you.
And I'm gonna keep defending it.
Was this was your best turnout, wasn't it, Melissa?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yes, we ended up with 171 registered runners. Last year, I don't remember exactly what we had. First year we had 109, so.
Yep, always growing, so,
Can I ask one thing?
yes.
You guys are looking for reserves? Can you give more than a week's notice to the Wright County? Possibly.
That was Victoria's job.
Yes,
The,
it was.
the individual that did, I don't know how much notice was given to the Wright County Reserves.
11, email was sent on the 11th.
I don't know, I wasn't there, I didn't read the email, I didn't send the email, so I don't know.
Yeah, all right.
And we did just fine with photos, you know, and they usually send one or two anyway, and that's not the end of the world if they can make it. It's more of a courtesy than a safety. Is that it?
Kevin.
Good evening, Council and Mayor. I'll go through what I got in the packet here first. First one is the monthly activity report. Acknowledgement to the House of Grace Church. They cooked us dinner prior to one of our training nights in April, on April 18th, and they served it to us right before that. So huge shout out to the House of Grace Church for providing that to our crews. Otherwise, that's kind of the same as you guys see every month from me for the most part, if there's any questions on it. And had I known the sheriff's office was going to put their annual report in the same time, I would put mine in, I would have done it, but I'll slide through mine here pretty quick. So just to highlight a couple of things, under the personnel on page 46, currently we have 276 and 3 months years, or time of active service within the fire department. So that's all the experience that we're drawing on, is that close to 277 years of service. Of that, we have a bunch of emergency first responders, a couple of emergency medical technicians, a paramedic, a few licensed firefighters, and the list just goes on and on. Nothing has really changed in our apparatus or equipment. In 2016, for the most part, we didn't have any huge purchases, so nothing real special as far as that goes. Training was status quo for 2016. We continued training all the time, it seems like. Just to kind of give you an idea, a total of 3,079.8 man hours were spent training in 2016. That's not including some of the stuff that goes undocumented. So the guys put in a lot of time, a lot of effort in that. Fire prevention and community events. This is stuff that we just started tracking now here in 2017. I can't tell you how many hours, but it's probably close, if not more, to that 3,000 hours that we spend time doing fire prevention, being at community events, taking part with the FEED program or Montrose Days or the 5K, things along those lines. In 2016, the fire department took back over emergency management. Also in 2016, we had the one large emergency management activation with the gas outage that happened in December. Everything went well as far as that was concerned for the most part. Just a couple of special mention information things that started in 2016. We started the station project. We got a gear washer extractor on a grant. The fire chiefs began responding direct to scenes, and a couple of new medical equipment devices that we started utilizing more often. Then we get into the numbers. They speak for themselves, so I'm not gonna go through the numbers individually. 223 calls for service in 2016. That was right on par with 2015. This year, as things sit right now, we're having a very slow year. It's been very quiet. Jill's looking at me panicking right now because now we're able to go out nonstop for the next week, so. But we're very fortunate to be kind of in a little bit lull of a time right now. A lot of our guys are starting to get burnt out. A lot of training, a lot of calls adds to a lot of not happy firefighters, so. With that, that's kind of all that I have as far as that goes. This will be, there will be a link put on the city website for the annual report, so that it'll be viewable to whoever wants to view it. Any questions on that? Do I need I don't need a motion for that. Okay. Number 3, this one I do need a motion for. Reinstatement of Jeff Daniels after a 6-month leave of absence. He was approved a leave of absence effective 11/2 of 2016. As of 5/2/2017, he has requested to be reinstated from his leave of absence.
I'll make a motion to reinstate Jeff Daniels after a 6-month leave of absence.
I'll second that.
Melissa?
Aye.
Jill? Aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
All right.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. And then I have 2 things that aren't on the agenda. Number 1, this past Saturday, we had an active and retired firefighter dinner. This is where we invite all of our active personnel and people who are retired with 10 years or more of service on the department they retired. It was fairly well attended. I had about half of our current active staff, and we had maybe about 12 retired personnel show up. Just sitting in this room when that was going on, we had a total of 566 years of firefighting experience and service. So it's a tribute to say, and most of those people are still living really close to town. So they're staying, they're putting their time, they put their time in. The most that we had was Willie, who's still on our department with 46, what, he corrected me, I know that. Close to 46 years of service, so it's always a good time that we do that. The Relief Association puts that on, so there's no cost or anything to the taxpayers or anything along those lines. The other item, just to kind of piggyback off of the sheriff's office thing, as far as the workshop goes, I would like to maybe see that be a public safety discussion workshop, because there are some serious dire issues that we need to look ahead of ourselves for the fire department. We've been very fortunate for many, many, many years that during the daytime, when the pagers come off, we've had 1 or 2 guys that work in town and can just leave their businesses. That's going to come to an end very, very soon. And those trucks will not leave unless personnel are here. So there are strategies to combat that. However, with strategies come cost. And we have to weigh what's more important, what's not more important. So I think that's a good time to probably have that discussion as well during that workshop. There's a lot to think about. As you'll see when you guys get home, Forest Lake Police Department just disbanded, effective tonight. And there's about probably 20 to 30 other police departments that are thinking of doing the exact same thing in the state and surrounding states that I track and that I watch. So not that I'm putting a plug in for the Wright County Sheriff's Office by any means. Obviously, I'm going to be a little biased. We have a great working relationship with them on the fire department, not just because of me. We've had it before I was a sheriff's deputy. The relationship is great. Could a police department be better? Absolutely, but it comes at a cost, sometimes to service, sometimes to taxpayers, and that's your guys' job to weigh which way that goes. So, with that,
June 21st will not work, that's planning and zoning. So while Kevin's up here, I don't know if it's just going to be you or if you're going to want to bring anybody else from the department.
It'll probably just be me from the department side of things, so.
Okay. So whatever works beside the 21st, but that will be planning and zoning that night.
22nd? Thursday?
No, I guess I did want to second.
Yeah, this is 5 o'clock, so planning is only 7.
Will you be done at 7? If you start at 5, you'll be done at 7?
Not Black Friday,
Not
no.
for that workshop.
Could we go the week before, Wendy? Or is that cutting it close?
We do it on
Through Flag Day?
I know it sounds like right in
Can
Flag
we
Day.
do, no, Flag
No.
Day.
No, we're busy.
Flag Day, we're busy, can we do it on the 15th?
No, she's out of town, and I'm working.
Summertime's bad.
Okay, so why don't you guys all look at your calendar, send some emails to us, and we'll pick a date and email you.
So the 20th was not, you were on town, right, Melissa?
Tuesdays don't work for her.
Okay.
What about, unless it's next Tuesday?
Oh, on the 19th. The Lions would be in there on the 19th.
Yes, at 7 o'clock there will be.
If you want, we can have the
In the
workshop.
fire department?
At the fire department, yes. I can make that happen pretty easily. The acoustics suck, but it should be small enough to where we can huddle around a couple of tables or something.
I think we should do that, because the 21st worked for everyone.
Keep the 21st, just
Keep
move
it
the
that way?
fire department.
Okay.
That's the Thursday, right?
That's a Wednesday.
Wednesday, the 21st.
Is that the PDC meeting?
Yep.
We're gonna hope that we're done in 2 hours.
No, if it
Oh,
goes.
wait, no. Yeah. We should be fine. 5 to 7? God, I hope it won't go more than 2 hours, would it?
Well, if everyone comes prepared, it won't, but
You'll have a lot of my stuff
looking
prepared
at past
beforehand,
meetings.
but there's a lot of discussion that's gonna take place.
Yeah.
So,
I would not come around and meet them by 7.
We'll have good constructive comments and move fast.
Make it at 4:30.
Any additional time will be helpful.
Let's just start the meeting and, have the rest of the day.
Works for me.
So 2.5 hours, 4:30?
Sure.
Does that work, Melissa? Lloyd?
Yeah, it's okay.
Oh,
So that's still June 23rd.
21st. 21st.
Don't make me come here.
I ain't thinking on Friday night. Okay.
thank you.
All right, thanks, Karen. Park and Rec group.
My personal note before we start, Kevin, I really want to tell you, your ISO rating is outstanding for the fire department. You have really done an outstanding job. Your response time is better than the sheriff's department. Your guys saved my husband really hard. So, thank you. So, back to Park and Rec. Good evening, council and mayor. We had a lot going on. The egg hunt was our big event, and with that, there is an enormous list of people that we could thank, but I would forget a bunch of names, so I'm just going to say thank you to everyone who donated eggs, donated baskets, donated their time filling, especially to United Methodist Church, who has donated all of their eggs to us, so we don't have to try to split everything up, what's ours, what's yours. It has become Park and Rec's permanently, so big thank you to them. And Sylvia, thank you for making your bunny suit and playing Easter Bunny. We also want to thank Public Works for their quick action on Veterans Park yesterday, and to Alex Venner and Gavin Richter for helping us clean up the park. We also have got a new person that has applied to be on Park and Rec Commission, Matt Russell, who is here tonight. The commission has approved him pending your approval, which we would greatly like to have. So we will ask for a motion on that for approval.
I would like a motion to approve Matt Russell to Park and Rec.
I'll second it.
Melissa?
Aye.
Joe? Aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Awesome.
Welcome, Matt.
Thank you.
reminder, town hall meeting is on May 22nd here, and it is regarding the regional park with the Army Corps of Engineers coming in. Sean has indicated that he may not be here, but he will make sure that someone, whether it be council, Wendy, myself, somebody has got current information so that we can disseminate that.
Wendy, at that time, do you think we could have budget information for that? Or is that too soon?
No.
That's what I'm thinking.
And the last thing I think we have is Park and Rec does have its own Facebook page. It is an event and communication page only. So if you comment, you won't see any comments, they're blocked out. It's just like the city's page. So
You'll see the comments though.
I can see them, you will see little dots, that's it. What comes up. So that we can communicate everything that way. So if anyone's got any questions, you can go there, please go and like us. That would be great, I think that is it. We've got Summer Splash coming up. Appreciate the support of you guys, the council. You guys have been wonderful to us. So, thank you.
Thank you.
WCAT.
I went to the WCAT meeting on May 8th. There's still a couple of things going on. One of them is they're still having discussions with the other two counties, McLeod and Sibley, regarding the joint powers agreement between them. Somebody from WCAT was going back again this week or two ago to meet with them some more. They've been making progress. They've got, I think, a mediator in there trying to help them figure it out. I believe one of the counties, McLeod or Sibley, one of them had like 3 representatives and everybody else had 2, and it was kind of a battle as to when things were getting done. So they're trying to work all that out. The second discussion that day was about, they talked about seeing if Wright County wanted to become a member of WCAT. Originally, the county was not interested in a transportation program after the River Rider was done. But now it sounds like some of the commissioners have shown a little bit of interest, so they were going to invite them to a meeting, see what they wanted to do. The second part of that discussion was with the ending of River Rider, and now that all the audits are done by the state of Minnesota, the county has received about $260,000 returned to them for transportation needs, or that can be used for transportation. And it was WCAT's understanding that that money would be turned over to WCAT or to Trailblazer to be used for buses and stuff, but the county has yet to turn it over. So I think there's a letter in your packet that Scott Enter wrote, or somebody wrote that asking them for the money to meet with them so they could get the money. So because we don't have the money yet, we've received WCAT received some invoices from Trailblazer, and we're going to have to pay for them. I believe they went back to like 2014 and 2015, some capital costs and some operating costs. And so they decided that WCAT will be sending out invoices to all the cities. It's based on your ridership, so I believe ours will be about $1,607 for those 2 years. And hopefully the rest of the money, then that $260,000 will get turned over, so we won't have any more operating costs after that, or I should say capital costs. Those are like for buying new buses and stuff that they bought when they came into the county, and the expansion. Wright County is one of the biggest ridership, I believe, in Trailblazer. So I haven't received the invoice yet from WCAT for that, but when it does, I'll put it on the accounts payable. So that's where we stand with WCAT.
Thank you. Planning and zoning?
I don't believe there was anything other than the minutes, which you can all, I think you've all had a chance to read. And then the other item I believe that's in here is if you go to page 66 in the packets, it's Casey's Store. They sent in some stuff to, I believe, to Maggie and to the city planner. They want to just change the front of their building a little bit and leave the overhead thing over the pumps. So they've picked up a new color apparently. They used to have like that tanner or whatever with their little red Casey sign. And now they've, I think they're in your packet, they want to go to the red color. So they just wanted to get, they just asked if the city would look at it, discuss it. They want to make a motion that it was fine or what they wanted to. If you had any thoughts on it, I mean, if you look at the building itself, like what Jess has up there now, it actually makes the building look pretty nice. They've got all the brick facade in the front and a little brighter, I think it probably is just a little more noticeable. Not the bland, kind of tannish or blondish color they used to have.
Is there a motion then to approve the changes with Casey's?
I'll make a motion to accept their revised rent, whatever, changes to their coloring.
Is there a second?
I'll second that.
Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Jill?
Aye.
Melissa?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. Justin?
Just one quick item for you. March 13th meeting, you guys had authorized the preparation of plans and specs and proceeding with the right-of-way and easement acquisitions for the Highway 25 project going south of town. We have since that time met with MnDOT at a kickoff meeting, started the process to draft the cooperative agreement like we talked about. As part of that process, formal resolution is required by MnDOT, simply stating that the city is authorizing the proceeding with the project and the drafting the cooperative agreement. Really essentially is putting what you've already approved into the form of a resolution. And then the final cooperative agreement will still come to you for final approval before any work is started, before any funds are expended as far as the construction aspect of it goes. So, the resolution is on page 71, so we ask for your approval on that.
I'll make a motion approving resolution 2017-13, a resolution authorizing an agreement project with the Minnesota Department of Transportation for work on and adjacent Trunk Highway 25.
I will second that.
Lloyd?
Is that, we're gonna start that before the MnDOT does?
MnDOT's project is scheduled for starting in 2018. Our project will start in either late 2018 or early 2019.
Okay. Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
Jill? Aye. Melissa? Aye. I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Can Lloyd vote on that? Because there's a chance that he's going to be gaining financial from this going in front of his property and potentially buying some of his property.
Or it's gonna deface.
Well, I agree. It's going to be altering your property and changing that.
Well, it won't make a difference before 0 then.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying just for legality, shouldn't it be 4-0 and 1 abstaining?
Attorney?
I would advise you to probably just abstain from the vote.
Okay, motion passes 4-0-1.
Abstain.
1 abstain, yeah.
Three personnel.
Flip it over. There we go. Just a little mute. Personnel committee met earlier this month. And maybe performed a review on Wendy. All is good. We talked about city-sponsored events. City-sponsored versus city? I don't know what that means, but,
When it's supposed to be non, and it autocorrected to,
okay.
just assuming.
We discussed city-sponsored events versus city-supported events due to the fact that earlier in the month, there was an email sent out stating that one of the activities in town was a city-sponsored event, when in reality it was a city-supported event. So we just clarified with that and talked with Kevin about that, and Kevin agreed that it was city-supported, not city-sponsored, so. Meeting was about 10 minutes. In and out, that was it. Any questions? Okay, Sean.
Mayor, council seeking approval to hire the third position for seasonal employee. We conducted interview a week or so and recommending Mitchell Menth to fill that third position.
I'll make a motion to approve Mitchell Menth as our seasonal public works employee.
I'll second.
Melissa?
Aye.
Jill? Aye. Ben?
Aye.
Lloyd?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
There's no old business, new business, liability coverage waiver.
This is just kind of an annual thing that we do. We do not waive our monetary limits on our tort liability. And that's been established in the Minnesota statute. We do this every year, so we just need a motion that you're not going to waive it.
I'll make a motion that we will not waive our liability coverage.
Second that motion.
Lloyd?
Aye.
Jill? Aye. Melissa?
Aye.
Ben?
Aye.
I'll vote aye. Motion passes 5-0. I know.
I'm so sorry, you were really late, the last night.
You would have brought your popcorn if you loved me this time.
Well, good evening, Mayor and Council. I am Jim Borat from the Wright County Assessor's Office, and you probably know me because I see you once a year at the local board review meetings in April. And every year in April and May, local board of appeal and equalization meetings are held for property valuation appeals if people decide to do so. They're held in townships and cities, and a lot of these meetings, people have not been showing up, so the state legislature and Department of Revenue came up with what they thought was a pretty good solution, open book meetings. And the open book meeting process, if you don't know anything about it, the county sets a day aside for any jurisdiction, and people that want to appeal their values can come in that day. But the beauty of this is, instead of a local board of review, where if they don't come to that meeting, their only option is tax court. If they don't come to the open book meeting, they can still go to the county board of review or just speak with us, and we can work with them on their appeal of their property value. So instead of having a hard and fast date and then off to tax court, now it opens up the window for everybody to sit down, take a look at things, and see if we can't resolve an issue before it even goes to the county board of review. So there are benefits for the property owners. It does take away the local board of appeal and equalization, but what we do in that case, we provide a report to the city councils or the townships each year, so we at least know what's going on. So you're not left out of the loop at all. We do tell you. In the past, the city of Montrose has had very few people come to the local board of review, and I think we had one this year that was just turned over to the county anyway, because I believe it was done by letter, and we had to work with that property owner. I think it was a commercial or an apartment.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but it was turned over to the people that handle commercial and apartments, that sort of thing. It's a much more relaxed atmosphere when somebody can come into our office, sit down, look at how their property is assessed, compare to the neighbors. They don't have to do it in a public forum where they want to, a lot of people want to question, well, what's going on with my neighbor's house? Well, they don't like to do that at a meeting like this. They find out that they're not invited to the backyard campfires anymore real fast. So, several cities in Buffalo and one township have already signed up to do this. The city of Buffalo, Monticello, South Haven, Maple Lake, Cokato City, Clearwater City, and Silver Lake Township, Annandale, and I believe, so Annandale has been proposed over there. And because this has to be done by resolution, we think they're going to pass it and just send it back to us. Now, if property owners
come to us during this window of opportunity and they're not satisfied, they can go to the county board of review or the tax court, depends on how big the case is. And they don't even have to wait for the open book day. As soon as they get the valuation notice, we prefer they call right away. This year at the open book meeting, which was over 20% of the parcels in Wright County, we had 4 people come to the meeting. Most people call ahead. In the city of Buffalo, my meeting was held in the first part of April. Typically, after that, normal date, I couldn't do anything. This year I've had 4 phone calls since then, and I was able to work with the property owners on legitimate property valuation problems. Otherwise, we wouldn't have been able to do anything. So, if you do decide to go this route, it has to be done by resolution, and I don't know about the city politics or the process, let me put it to you that way. If the resolution passes, it's given to the county for the open book process for 3 years. You can take it back after that. You simply have to notify the assessor's office by December 1st of the preceding year.
And then they have to all be trained again.
Yeah, you don't have to do the training if you decide to go open book and leave it that way. So you don't have to worry about bringing your pillow to the meeting to get trained for the local board review. So, any questions?
So we can just do a resolution at one of our following meetings and just give it to the county for the second.
Yeah, we just need a copy of the signed resolution and that'll take care of it.
So after 3 years, does it expire and have that new resolution, or?
No, if you don't notify us that you're taking the meeting back, it just stays as an open book meeting.
For another 3 years?
No, just,
This one here.
yeah, after the first 3 years, you can notify us at any time in any future year that you would prefer to have the meeting back.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So then with that, I have a question, because right now, our second half of our assessing fees is $9,419.25. So that's paid to.
That's our city assessor.
That was the other gentleman that was here, right?
Yeah.
That's paid
the
to
way
the
it's
resource fund, yes.
Okay, and so how does that affect, does that affect anything here?
No, there's no charge for us to do the open book meetings. It just makes it more convenient for the property owners with a bigger time window, and if they come into our office, we have more information there than we could simply provide. If you've been to these meetings, you've seen us bring the books in every year. The books are going away, and not all of the information transfers to a laptop as easily as people think. So we have a lot of information statistics that we have at the office. And for years, I've prepared for several hours to go to these meetings, and no one shows up. And you prepare because you don't know who's going to just walk in and what their question might be. We would really prefer when, as soon as people got the valuation notice, to call us right away. So,
All right, thank you.
yeah.
I would be a no, if you had another.
You just need to decide if this is something you want to do, then just instruct staff to
Make a resolution for it. Okay.
if that's something you want to do.
I would be in favor of a resolution being proposed for this. Is that consensus?
Yep, and we move forward.
We talked about it
Yeah.
at that board of meeting.
So staff will prepare a resolution.
Yep.
Upcoming meetings, planning and zoning is May 17th. Town hall meeting, May 22nd. That's it. Brew, open forum.
I think the only thing left on there was PSN, we still want me to come back up.
Yep.
Okay, last time tonight, I promise. Each month, I keep seeing on the tables, roughly $800 for PSN. I finally asked Wendy tonight, what does that consist of? You know, was it a membership fee or user fee? What is it that's there? And she was explaining to me that everybody who pays their water bills online through the PSN site, the city gets charged a fee for that. And rather than going through a credit card processing company, which we all know can be 5%, 6%, 10% even, these guys were much cheaper. My question then is, $800 or $880 a month times 12 months, we're over 10 grand. That the city is just, because people have to, we're basically absorbing that money for a bill that people have to pay. If you don't pay it, you get cut off. Every other utility company has that. If I go online to pay my Xcel, if I go online to pay CenterPoint Energy, any of those people, they all have like a $3.95 convenience fee for doing that. So I'm just wondering, is this $10,000 that the city could use somewhere else instead of paying for people to pay their bill?
$10,560.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think all utilities have that. I think it depends on how you pay. Like, if you pay by phone, they might charge it, or, you know, if you pay online, they don't. So,
Either way, regardless.
yeah, I mean, I understand what you're saying. But yeah, I think that how you pay depends on whether you get charged that.
But if they get someone to pay their bill versus going to collections, how much are we gonna spend if we have to take them to collections?
We don't go to collections, we assess it.
Yeah, be assessed to their taxes.
However, Sean and I had this discussion at budget time, whether we should look at adding a fee to them. And at that time, our general consensus was, from the time we started with PSN, our open receivables in the utilities dropped from about, was it like from 50,000 to 20,000 a month?
Probably less than that now.
Yeah, so our open receivables dropped considerably, which meaning the ones that can come in late. Because people are more apt to pay them on time if they can use a credit card than they are if they have to drop off a check or whatever they. And it also, when you look at it that way, through PSN, the time saving at city staff level is a lot, because it's a matter of pushing 3 buttons and then they're downloaded a day. So I mean, it's the amount of time it saves versus entering payments in by hand.
Oh, and I'm not saying
So-
it shouldn't go away,
No.
because I use it myself.
Yeah, but that was what we had looked at, was because of how much it reduced our open receivables and how much it takes off of staff time, was why we decided back in July, I think it was when we were doing budget, why we decided not to put fees on for the upcoming year. I guess that's something that,
And it's just something.
There's a little bit of history behind that also. When we first initialized PSN, the council made a decision to absorb that cost rather than passing it on to the residents. And it's been that way ever since. We've had that conversation, as Wendy just mentioned. That's something that the council wishes they want to pass some of that burden on to the residents. We can certainly look at it.
Do you have any idea how much money you make off of the late fee that's assessed every month?
it's a 5% fee. I don't tell you the dollar, because I don't do that every month.
It changes every month.
Well, right, it's not going to be consistent, but I assume a good portion of that is probably absorbed in that fee.
And we also, PSN used to use a company called Pivotal Payments, which is the credit card discount company, or whatever you want to call it, which was like at 5%. They've dropped those in the last year. So we were paying somewhere between $1,200 and $1,300 a month, and it's dropped down to about $800. So we have cut out a lot of that fee because we no longer have to use that company. They took that all on themselves now.
Does that answer your question?
Yeah, I was just hoping that's something you guys would look at, because, I mean, it's $10,000, you know, that's just poof, you know, I mean, think about $10,000 you could put into new equipment, you know, new trucks for public works, I mean, that's a lot of money.
Any more discussion?
So I want to specifically call out somebody for the Easter egg hunt, Angie Beauty, who was the one who took the photos this year for the Easter bunny that we had. She did a great job. Say that name. Angie Beauty, F-U-D-E.
We had great compliments on that. People really liked it. She did an excellent job.
And she uploaded them very quickly.
She did breakfast with Senator. She's good.
It's the only one that I remembered right now.
Okay. All right, I'm gonna go then with Public Works for this past Saturday's cleanup. I think we did a record out there, and the stuff I saw, kudos to them. Also, again, as Bruce said, Public Works for the quick response and vet store cleanup. State Bank of Delano for donating to the Montrose Elementary Carnival, along with they donated $50. Craft Center Gold has donated $100 to the school for the carnival. The Ugly Bar is donating, and then the fire department for the use of the fire station during the egg hunt. The kids had a blast being able to go all over the fire trucks. I'm good.
I would like to personally thank the fire department for their assistance in our Beyond the Yellow Ribbon, like the night 5K. Without them, it wouldn't be possible, and it's our biggest fundraiser of the year. I mean, truly, it's a blessing that we have them here, them putting in their volunteer hours that they do away from their families. They're running the almost 5K. And it was just a true blessing. I want to thank Public Works for their assistance, helping us map the course, make sure that we have the roadblocks and doing things as safe as we can. Sean, the use of the truck, everything. It was just, thank you very much.
Yes, and all of our sponsors locally, and then also in the surrounding communities. We had several from Delano, Waverly, Jackie B's, the Marine Corps, and everyone that came out.
Anything else?
I got a couple things. First of all, I want to recognize my staff for the job they did on Saturday. It's by far the biggest turnout for cleanup day in the last 10 years, and it pretty much went off without a hitch. We're still hauling away junk as we speak. We had to kind of go to Plan B and move some things around, but they did a good job. Want to recognize Matt for coming out to the Park and Rec Commission. I think he's going to be a great asset there. And the community garden is now open. That's it.
Anything else? Pat?
I'd like to recognize Jason for the outstanding job he did at redoing the vets memorial sign at Veterans Park. Grant City purchased the lumber. Jason put the man hours into it. It looks fantastic. And I know he appreciates when people come up and give him an attaboy. Thanks, man. He's always there for everybody.
Yes, there was
Get a lot of compliments around town about it.
a lot of
Our public
compliments on
works.
Facebook, social media, and a very good job well done. So thank you, Jason.
Now, for the last few years,
Anything else? Is there a motion to adjourn? So.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Like I love to stand for and fight. Because it was your senior prom or did it? That's right. So my father made me wear a dress.